I am chairing the first section, so-called co-design within local context. And the first presenter is Anna Suzuki from Tohoku University. She will be talking about the co-creating futures from productive misalignment, geothermal prospects on regional design. I'd like to introduce her briefly. Anna Suzuki is an associate professor at the Institute of Fluid Science, Tohoku University. She works at the intersection of geothermal, reservoir engineering, transport phenomena, and community co-creation designs. In today's her talk, she will present her current work, which focuses on how productive misalignment can spark inquiry, collaboration, and the co-creation of the resilient regional futures. So, Professor Suzuki, please start your presentation.
Hello, everyone. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Anna Suzuki from the Institute of the Fluid Science, Tohoku University. So today I'm very excited because I'm gonna introduce my talk in English. It's the first time, so I'm very excited to see your response from all over the world. So I hope you'll enjoy. So today I'd like to talk about from the geothermal perspective on regional design, why misalignment matters for co-creation our future. So many of you know that Japan has a lot of geothermal resources, thermal energy from the earth. So as Takahashi Sensei said, my specialty is mechanical engineering research on geothermal energy, particularly the flow of water and heat underground. So let me begin with a technical question. How should we drill well to design the geothermal resources? So in geothermal development, drilling is very important. It determines costs and long-term sustainability. So how should we drill well? The honest answer of this question is it depends. It depends on geology, it depends on cost, on risk, on uncertainty, on the people who live with the consequence. So even as mechanical engineer, we cannot simply solve the optimization problem. We have to recognize that in the real world, there is no single right answer. And this is why I want to reframe what design means. Design is not about finding the right answer, but inquiry. Let me explain this with a simple example. Here, there are two colors, blue and yellow. So question, what color blue plus yellow? So this type of question is called forward problem. Start from the cause or mean, and then obtain the result or goal. However, design usually asks the opposite question, what makes green? How can we make green? This is called an inverse problem. Start from result or goal, and then need to explore the cause or means. In this case, cutting or burning this green won't give us our answer. So how do we find the answer? We solve this through inquiry. First, we make a question, what or how, and then we place a provisional answer, a hypothesis, like maybe blue plus red, and then we test. Maybe we can obtain this kind of color, then compare the color between the object and what we made. If there's still a gap between them, we reverse our hypothesis. Maybe blue plus white, or blue plus yellow, and then the gap becomes to reduce. So through repeating this cycle and reducing the gap between what we observe and what we test, so we gradually arrive at belief. So when the object is a result, we ask what or why. By exploring the cause, we come to understand the phenomena. When the object is goal, we are exploring the mean, planning how to bring a future into being. So future design happens when we combine these two forms of inquiry. What and why inquiry help us to understand the present, and how inquiry help us plan to the future. And future design emerge when we hold all together. Now I want to connect this to a cognitive perspective. The free energy principle was proposed by the neuroscientist Carl Friston. This says that our brain trying to minimize the gap between the new information and our prediction. To minimize this gap, we update our hypothesis through inference. So we are thinking. And when our existing knowledge and the new information we already have are not enough to reduce the gap, we try to sample the new information. So we act. So we can describe the human cognitive as a continuous loop of thinking and acting, and this inference process is exactly what I mean by inquiry, just like the example I showed earlier. So we try to reduce the difference between the color we observe and the color we produce until we arrive to a belief. So one advantage of introducing the free energy principle is that this process can be described using the Bayesian inference. So please don't worry, you don't need to understand this equation here. So what matters is the idea that the belief can be expressed as a probability. So belief is not the correctness, it is a probability. So our perception is never perfectly certain. It is always probabilistic and always provisional and always updatable. So next, let's consider the designing, co-creating future in society. So let's return to geothermal development. From the conventional geothermal engineering development, the goal is sustainable energy production from the power plant over decades. And the goal, and then we optimize drill well here to maximize the long-term output. But in many cases in Japan, geothermal resources overlap with hot springs, like a spa. So for them, the resources are not just energy resources. They are culture, livelihood, and identity. So even if an optimization problem is solved correctly, it may still not be accepted because the frame itself is misaligned. So misalignment is not necessarily opposition. It is often a mismatch of the frame. The source of the misalignment is the frames. We all see the world through the frames, like a picture frame or camera frame. So that is a way of interpreting the what matter, what is right, and what is acceptable. Inspired by the Charles Sanders paradigmatic model, my colleague described the frame through 3 layers: logic, how we judge right or wrong; ethic is how we judge good or bad; and aesthetic, what feels comfortable or uncomfortable. Logic is always depend on the ethic frame, and ethics depends on always the aesthetic frame. So now we can say that the correctness discussed in the logic layer is never just one. It always depends on the frame of the ethic and aesthetic. So how we feel and what we value. That is why misalignment is often not about fact. It is about the frame through which we interpret those facts. So this leads to my current project, a system called a frame map. So frame map aims to visualize the misalignment as a resource for the designing the future and enabling the co-creation. So today I want to introduce the idea of the frame map. So we assume there is a planner for some project and some stakeholder. So in the current version, we collect the survey response from both project planner and stakeholder involved. So here, this is show the frame map. So each dot represents a stakeholder and a planner or proposer. So the idea is that people are plotted closer together if they share similar value, and further apart if their value differ. So we consider the distance is a frame distance. And the color represents as an agreement with the planner's proposal. Blue indicates the strong agreement, and red indicates a strong resistance or rejection. And for example, the blue star is the planner, and the closer to the planner show, so that here is the planner, and there are many blue, which means they are supporting the project, and they have the value like the protecting the global environment. Meanwhile, the red cluster here tend to oppose the object. So their emphasis the individual freedom. So my hypothesis of this frame map is that by seeing the whole landscape first and then located ourselves within it, the frame map can support metacognition and mutual understanding. So instead of the simple for or against, this system helps us to imagine people who agree with for the different reasons, or people who share our value but reach different conclusions. So this project is still early stage, so I hope to validate this approach within about maybe 1 year. So if you are interested in collaborating, please feel free to reach out. Anyway, developing this system, I want to show that the misalignment is not opposition, but can be delivered of the co-creation. So I'm to bring framework into the real world practice, but beyond that, I also work on the design learning in educational setting. So I would like to introduce some example. So with university students, I'm currently running a course where we imagine the year of the 2050 in Naruko town. So Naruko is the exact town name, and Naruko faced depopulation and aging, but they have a very rich and regional natural resources, including geothermal. So students visit the field and sense the reality with their own body, and then design vision of self-sustaining the community, which they will summarize as a story. And the second example is I just conducted it yesterday, and I conducted an experimental class with elementary school kids. So they experience the geothermal resource firsthand, and I encourage them to ask why and how by learning to notice and visualize differences in the scientific experiment. And then they experience to open up new way of seeing the world. So by learning from the field and designing the future under uncertainty, And by practicing the inquiry with the next generation, like a university student and elementary school student, I hope to continue future design myself as well. Okay, so here is concluding my talk. So I want to return to where I began. So design is not about finding the right answer, but inquiry. And belief is not correctness, but probability. So always provisional and updatable. And there is no single correct frame, so each of us sees the world through slightly different frame. So these different create a misalignment. The future does not move by eliminating the misalignment, by working with it together. So this means that before designing the solution, we need to design how we face our difference. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you very much. There are many hands from the audience. So I'd like to have some take time for some questions from the audience. If you have any questions, you are free to unmute and identify yourself and some questions. Or you can also type in questions in the message and in the chat so that we can answer later. And also we can take some issues in the panel discussion sessions. But this time, I'd like to ask all of the audience to have some, if you have some questions, you are very welcome to do so. Luis, you type in the chat, but there, as far as I see, there's no other one to talk. So would you please? Oh, I'm sorry. One. Raise hand.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm a student from Yamaguchi University, and I'm very interested in the future design. So I joined this session today, and thank you for helping this event. And then my question for her is, how did you define, ask for the frame map, and how did you define the emphasis score? And I'm curious how people choose agree or disagree. This is a kind of qualitative approach, or I'm curious how you measure it, or how people measure the score.
Okay, thank you for your question. So here, it says that I put it as an emphasis score, but currently I'm using the agreement and disagreement for the some project or some proposal from the planner. So currently the stakeholder is answering the like agree or disagree and then like answer it. So but we have to consider more about the frame, and the frame is not only just the value, but we should consider about the layer. And so I think currently we are like asking the question to the stakeholder, each one, but now we try the question is made by the us, like a designer, that is always has some bias. So now we want to use the natural language system, and then to detect more natural value, what the responder is considered. So then we come back to the emphasis score again. So now currently it's only say about the agreement or disagreement, but we can also change to the emphasis score with more reasonable one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel it is important to visualize this map itself, like a psychological stance is visualized. It's like a more important than the score itself. I feel. So we often just cluster the idea like a surface level. Then finally people who have most power decide the idea or something regardless of who is agree or disagree. So maybe I think this like a psychological level is surfaced up and visualized like the map is. I think this is the uniqueness of this idea. I feel.
Yeah, thank you.
So and
Mm.
Luis
And
is
yeah.
also
Ah,
yeah.
sorry. So
Ayaka-san,
the purpose of this framework is we want to use it for the meta recognition. So it's more important to visualize, and the mapping is much important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I found very interesting questions in the chat from Reese. He asked about how does this misalignment framework also work with human and AI? As you know, alignment problem is considered to be very important in the AI area. So how do you think of this?
Thank you. It's a very difficult question, and so currently my position is to use the AI as to kind of categorize the misalignment between the human and human. So, but your question is we should consider the misalignment between the human and the AI. So that is very interesting question. So I should consider later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very solid that it's time to transition to the next speakers. So thank you very much, Professor Suzuki and Anna. And please give her a big hands from the audience.